Hey, what's happening, people? Once again, another episode of the Just Jazz Cafe. Thank you for joining me and tuning in. And please check out all of the different interviews that we're doing here on the Just Jazz Cafe. Just checking in, with my peeps and people I love, the music I love. And this is one of my cats right here, man. We call him E to the P. That's Mr. Eric Person. What's up, brother?
Everything's up. Everything's looking good. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, Lee.
Yeah, man, of course, man. Everything is everything. Now, brother, you don't look the same for the last 20 years, man. I am seeing any changes in you, bro.
Well, I actually, once the lockdown happened, I was in the house a lot. I said, you know what, I'm gonna just grow this a little bit again. So I actually, for a few weeks, I had this growing, but it's gone right now. It'll come back though. It's coming back.
Well, one of my other boys named Eric too, Eric Harlan, man. Eric let it go, man. Eric got the big full-on beard, man.
Wow.
So yeah, people are letting it go. And, even though my brother's a barber, I haven't been able to go myself, which is why the Jazz Cat is now wearing the Jazz Cat hat. You can't.
Now you just got to put that mug up for sale.
Oh, man, it's great to touch base with you, man. And just want to introduce you to folks who may not have seen you before. Eric Person, great composer, saxophone player, man. Just want to talk about maybe some of what you've been working on or what you were working on before the COVID hit us.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I've been kind of like in a holding pattern on like a couple of projects, and being on lockdown actually inspired me to get back totally into them. Namely, the one I plan on being the next one is a recording I did basically 2 years ago, and Houston Persons featured on it. Great saxophonist, and so it's going to be called Blue Vision, and we're going to release it next year, and I'm just really happy and excited about it. So I went back in the studio, did some edits, and so basically I'm ready for the mix and the mastering.
Well, what most folks probably don't know is Houston Person is cousin, man. That's family.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny, as years have gone on, by the way, those who don't know, Houston Person is 85, he's gonna be 86 this year.
Ooh.
You wouldn't know it. I mean, the guy, I love talking to him. Every time we talk on the phone, we're talking like for an hour or more, and his wisdom, his humor, his empathy, he's just one of the best people I've ever known since I've been on the, jazz scene or whatever, and so I consider him a mentor, and it's always a pleasure playing beside him, and he's actually reaffirmed some things in my playing, so it's great. He's great.
Well, Houston is one of our elders, man. Been around a long time playing this music. And speaking about a long time in the music, man, brother, you've been on it too, man. I mean, I want to talk about some of the old days, with Chico Hamilton, that is, and other folks like Dave Holland, Ronald Shannon Jackson. I mean, let's talk about being on the road with some of those cats, McCoy Tyner, and how that fueled your career, playing with those guys on the road, and at the same time writing all the music that you write.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I was, actually thinking of some things just the other day, and actually I went back to school and got my bachelor's degree last year, and some of that, was about getting life credits for some things I did, in the music business. So it was like a lot of things were coming back to me that I hadn't really thought about for a long time. And so it actually made me appreciate some things more that I might have, not wanted to talk about or didn't consider it to be that important. And because like when you start thinking about, hey man, you know, you got what you've done, and if you continue doing it, you're building this story, your story, your legacy, and all that stuff. So I've got a chance to play with some very prolific and exciting, dynamic, innovative musicians. And you name, you know, quite a few of them. World Saxophone Quartet is another. There's many others that, you know, I've done a variety of different work with, and I appreciate every moment. You know, it's made me who I am. You know.
Yeah. Well, all those roads lead a path straight to you. You want to talk about all of these guys that you played with, which is fantastic. But, you know, you've been on the scene for quite a while, and you've been writing albums. I mean, ever since I've known you, man. Great composer. I mean, how many albums do you have to your name to this day?
I have 10 releases now, 10 CD releases, and I have 2 that are what I consider co-produced. And so I've tried to document, you know, different phases of what I'm doing. And as you know, like 8 years ago, I did one that was real close to my heart called Thoughts on God. And that one was, you know, long time coming, because I wrote that music basically in my apartment on the keyboard and everything. And then I always envisioned that music being performed by a large ensemble, and I finally got a chance to record that in 2012. Yeah.
Was that at in New York at not the Lincoln Center, but where did you record that one?
I recorded that at one called Sears Sound. It's got a nice big room, and it was perfect size and everything. So it was. I mean, I relish in the process, you know, because it's like it was. I actually, when I started writing that music, it was one thing, and I just kept, you know, reliving and listening to some old demo tapes. I was like, man, you know, I really like to do this, you know. And I saw other musicians crowdfunding, and I said, you know what, I think this is time for it, you know. So I got a chance to, you know, put it all together. I got some notation software. I was actually learning at the same time I was arranging it. So that actually threw in an extra kind of wrench in the whole thing, you know. But we got a chance to record it probably about 8 months after I started, you know, putting it down into the notation software. So it was a nice, interesting journey. And some of it, I got a video on YouTube that has some snippets from the rehearsals and things like that. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's nice, man. You definitely need to peep that out.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about Thoughts on God. I mean, I want to know, what were some of your thoughts on God when you were composing this music? I mean, and at the particular time, right here in, you know, July of 2020, I vision God looking down. He's got his finger right over the reset button, man. It's hovering over. So what do you think, man?
I mean, you know, a lot of people always say it. And so I don't want to make it like it's a cliche, but it's definitely true. But God is in control. So I know a lot of people might say, hey, you know, we're in the last days, end of time, and we don't know those things. But I know one thing, that when I was writing that music, I just kept thinking about that God was everywhere and everything. And I could see him in so many things that, you know, we actually take for granted, you know. So it just came out in the music for me, you know. And that's why I tried to make every one of the tunes different. You know, it wasn't trying to just come off like, hey, this is a big band. I wasn't trying to make a big band record or big band sound. I actually was trying to make a record that, or make music that was the opposite of that, you know, like real screaming trumpets in your ears. And that wasn't really conveying what I was saying in the music. So I tried to go in another different direction, just a smaller big band. And some other things in there. Like I had vibes along with the piano, and that kind of gave it a nice, roundness, but it's a lot of different feelings in that music. So it could be dynamic, it could be soft, it could be punctuated, percussive, it's all there.
Well, it's always listen to EP, my man Eric Persson. I actually got a chance to participate on 2 of your albums, and the first one was back. We were in Monterey, and then there was the Big Sur Jazz Festival. They had that, I think, for either 1 or 2 years, but you got a chance to headline that. And I did not know you were recording that, but I announced for you, and you made track 1, Leroy Downs Speaks. I got to speak about you, bro.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was a special time. And it was like, I only knew you for a couple of years, I think, at that point. And I can't even remember where I met the person who got me the booking, because I've been doing my own booking for years. So somewhere along the way, I met the person who put me in touch with the person who booked, and they love my music, and we wound up doing 2 performances out there. And I think when I got there, that's when I discovered that they had a really nice recording console, and the guy, I think his name was Pete Coates, was recording. And so I was like, okay. After I listened to the music, I was like, wow, this is happening. This is happening. So we're gonna do this.
No, they hooked it up really nice, man. And we talk about when we met a couple of years before that. It was actually backstage at the Village Vanguard in New York City. Tommy Flanagan was supposed to be performing, but he wasn't feeling well at the time. And so a great sub, Brother Mogu Miller, was there. And I was hanging out with Vanessa Rubin at the time, and she took me to the Vanguard, and she said, let's go backstage. And we went backstage to talk to Mogu. And then there's Eric Persson. Like, hey, man, what's up? That was it.
I mean, I was there actually. I was excited to hear Tommy Flanagan, because actually, when I first came to New York, and I got with Chico Hamilton, we were doing the JVC Jazz Festival, and they were having a kind of like a pre-festival celebration at Gracie Mansion. And I actually got my picture in the New York Times. It's like, I'm in the New York Times. I only been in New York like a couple of years, whatever. And the band that they assembled had Tommy Flanagan, had myself, Chico. I don't remember the bass player, but Steve Torre was playing, so we got a chance to play. I used to record everything back then. I still got a tape of that somewhere, So it's like Rasan, the poster, alluding to the poster that you got behind you, like he would say, bright moments.
Definitely bright moments.
Yeah, definitely.
I've been to New York several times, and on many of those occasions, that's kind of when, we had a chance to hang. One of the great hangs back in the day was when the world had IAJE, the International Association of Jazz Educators Convention, man, a 3-day convention over the weekend in New York at 2 hotels, the Sheraton and the Hilton down on Americas and 52nd. I remember it well, man. Just so much energy was in that place. Everyone was there. I mean, you walk around the city. I don't know how many blocks I was away from the festival, just walking around New York, checking out, turn the corner, Ndugu Chancellor, what's up, man? I remember those times well, man. So many good times,
No, man, it's like, I was so sad when an IAJE conferences was no more, and they've had different conferences under different names that have come and gone, and I know one that still kind of comes, but I haven't felt that the energy
Yeah.
Is the same. Some of it just has to do with timing, because like we couldn't duplicate 52nd Street back in the 40s or whatever, and Miles and Bird experience. But I mean, it's just a shame that we don't have that gathering place on that level anymore. The exchange numbers, running to guys we haven't seen in years.
Oh, so
Maybe
great.
catch a booker off guard. Hey man, you got my CD. You're responding to my calls. I got you now. What I mean? It's like we don't have that thing on the same level. So I think that in a certain way, the music scene or the jazz scene is less because we don't have it.
Well, these things are historic, man. I mean, and thank goodness we had an opportunity to be a part of that moment. You never think that you won't have the opportunity to be a part of that moment again.
Yeah.
And even with this COVID-19 thing that's going on, man, the world has changed. We got to get ready for a new normal. I hope this is not the new normal, but I know something different is coming our way. And I'm sure you've been locked up. You were in Brooklyn a while back, being able to hang, and you had a regular gig at Brooklyn and doing your thing, and now you're in Newburgh. You've been there for a number of years, a smaller town, I would imagine. But, I'm wondering, what's it look like, man? Is Newburgh like a ghost town, or, what's happening?
Yeah, actually, Newburgh. Well, okay. Let me just say one thing. They say there's a migration coming from New York, from the city. People were maybe tired of the city for a number of reasons. High rents and congestion. And then also, since it was the epicenter of COVID, a lot of people are like, hey man, this ain't the place to be. Big cities isn't the place to be. So a lot of people feel that way. Whether this person might not agree. There's a lot of other people who agree with that. So I live in the Hudson Valley. I've been here almost 13 years, and this place is having a massive resurgence. I mean, and I've even talked to some real estate people, and I say, hey man, is this migration from New York really, is it real? And everybody's basically saying it is. So I'm seeing a lot of buildings being worked on, rehabbed, a lot of new businesses, restaurants. Where I live, not far from, I'm right around the corner from Liberty Street. That's really got some great restaurants, really great restaurants, like New York level restaurants. And actually, a place I played for a number of years, every third Saturday, called the Warehouse. They're back open, but they're not having music right now. So I'm kind of excited to know when they're going to start that back. But I mean, that place just mentioned, the Warehouse, another place in Beacon, right across the water. It's called Quinn's. That's another hotspot for avant-garde jazz and very types of jazz, other music. And another place called the Falcon is not that far. So it's kind of like it might not be New York, but it's like some really, healthy musical venues here.
Yeah, well, we had it going on here in LA, man. I know you haven't been out in a while, but we were killing it with our Just Jazz series, man. Really having a lot of diverse artists come through. It's just so fantastic. 2 whole years of beautiful music. And right when it went down, we were about to open up another place in Westwood, and kind of like a dream, because if we can do that, then I can bring people from New York and people from Chicago, and at least give them 2 nights and more opportunity to make some money while they're here. And it's kind of always been my goal, man, it's been my goal. I've been doing it, man, supporting the music in any kind of way I can. I hadn't gotten into, the curating game yet, but now that I'm here, it'd be a great opportunity to just offer these musicians something. So when they think of LA, man, they think they got a home, they have a home, they can play, they can stop here, pick up some money, and keep going about their thing, man. The COVID.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I remember you was telling me that you had some another venue that you were looking at, and it's almost like the COVID thing just put the brakes on that, and then and a lot of people. I mean, I even said like, we'll see who's still energized to be even doing some of this, because I mean, the I told a lot of my musicians over the years, like when I've been touring, I said, hey man, you got to realize that when we come into different towns and we play some music series and different things, a lot of times it's a labor of love that goes unrewarded financially, yeah, you know what I mean? So
Guess
it's
how,
like,
guess how much money I've made from the Just Jazz series? Probably about negative $25,000. Yeah, man, it is a labor of love. I love all musicians and I love the music. And you know what? You know me, man. It's been like, it just has to be done. I mean, I have to do it no matter what. I'm not a musician. I can't travel, tour, and play and do all those things. But I love you guys, man. And it's like, I'm going to be a part of this music, a major part, especially here in LA. You guys, you should just fly over LA and go to San Francisco all the time. But, we're epicenter now.
Yeah, in San Diego and all that. Yeah, I mean, and that's the way it should be. I mean, we should be able to go from San Diego to LA to San Francisco to Oakland to Portland to Seattle, all like that, and on up to Vancouver. I mean, it should really be a circuit, and we got enough people who love and support this music for that to be a reality year after year. I mean,
no doubt. It is something that I'm not going to say it's been in the back of my mind. I have attempted it several times, and I tried to get a collective of people all the way up the coast, and I have some great ideas on, not profit sharing, but hey, man, let's throw some money into a pool. We can get them out here, and you take care of your person while they're here in town, and then we'll send them up to you, and then at the end, they fly back home. They scooped up that money in every place that they stop. And, we're better off for it because we don't get musicians from Chicago or New York or wherever, unless they decide to move here, which many of them have
now. Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, it's just, LA's great. I mean, LA has its own vibe. I always knew that whenever I came out there. It's different from any other places, but yeah, it definitely. I mean, so many great musicians, have come from LA.
I do.
Huh?
I said I do.
Yeah.
From the old school to the new school.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, most definitely. I mean, Chico Hamilton, you mentioned, Eric Dolphy. I mean, Arthur Blythe.
Yeah.
I mean, so many more. So, I mean, it should be a thing. On another note, you did you did do like this, Mingus. Yeah, Mingus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to.
Does that festival still happen out there? I think the Drew.
Yeah. Well, right now, of course, no festivals are happening. Jazz at Drew was going on. They took a hiatus for a while, but they came back for a very short time, I think a one-off. Here in LA, we got the Central Avenue Jazz Festival. We also have the Angel City Jazz Festival here in Los Angeles. There's another festival, the Leimert Park Jazz Festival, which, these things are still kind of going on, just in a different way during the COVID times. And we're actually producing a live streaming concert that'll happen on August the 8th. It's called Jazz Musicians Unite Against Racism. And we're getting a bunch of musicians together, not together in the sense where we'll all be breathing in the same space. We're going to definitely have our mask on and do it right. But, the musicians are going to play and talk about, how they feel during these times. I have some regular people who are not artists, who are not musicians at all, We're going to give them a platform to speak. I want to hear from some normal people and feel how they're being affected by this. And, you know, that's something I want to talk about with you too, man. All this racism. I mean, how is it affecting your thought process?
I mean, this has been around a long time. I mean, I was thinking just the other day how like the musicians of the late 50s or 60s and whatever, like they use that to inform their music. And well, I mean, I don't know, everybody's music is different, but I'm always interested how today's things that are happening in our society is going to inform different people's music. I want to hear their perspectives,
Yeah.
Like, Max Roach and them had the Freedom Now suite, you know what I mean? How is somebody going to take, how is somebody going to take what we've been experiencing, all this police brutality or this George Floyd and all this stuff? What are those negative things going to influence you positive as an artist, and what's going to be the product that we can see, the tangible thing from that,
Well, for a couple of my shows on KCRW, I did produce 2 shows called For All the Georges. And I just kind of went through my library of music, and it's a lot of current stuff and some stuff back in the day, and definitely Max and Abby are on there. But it talks about all of that music that's fueled by, this racism, this hatred for our intelligence, our beauty, our strength, and through all of that, man, even though we start in this life way behind because of all these rules and regulations and laws that were written against us, we always rise past that. I think, they don't dig that, and they're still trying to hold us back. And now we got a president that's on their team, it's like,
no, it's, I actually think it's like, after the 60s, mid 60s, the civil rights bill, got signed, everybody was happy and everything. But, it don't come that easy, by the writing of legislature or whatever, or bills, it just doesn't happen that way. It's just like all of a sudden there's a new world. No, it's going to be lots of battles. There's going to be lots of brush fires and everything going on that we have to deal with and take on. So I actually think that lulled us to sleep. Lulled many of us to sleep, because like if you look at like the 70s, it like even the music, it became like message music. So it was like inspiring, and everything. But then like the 80s came, and then the music got, it got soft. It was like everybody was happy. Everybody was making money. Everybody was, I mean, it like did like this thing, 60s, 70s, and then it did like the 80s down, where it was just like everybody was like, okay, it's cool, man, and then, and then all of a sudden it ramped back up. This guy helped, obviously this guy we have in president helped it ramp it up. And so we're just seeing this explosion of negativity, violence, hatred, like you say, racism, and that we have to keep fighting that. We have to fight the powers that be who fuel that, and we just have to keep moving on. We have to keep moving on.
Yeah. Elvis was a hero to some, but he never meant to me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. I mean, so it's a time where you can't be on like in the middle, Not
No, you got to take a side, man.
Yeah.
I know that folks have been hiding behind smiles and for a long time, and also no action is also a part of your agreement with what's going on too now. But I
Exactly.
think with all the things that have been happening with the protests that we've been having and the marches, I think that, and it's still continuing to this day, people are recognizing. I think this is the biggest time, even though these things have happened over all these years, I think this is the biggest time where everybody's on the same page, this side or that side, and taking a side. You know what I mean?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, it's I think some people are out who might even thought they wasn't going to be out.
Right. Exactly.
Because actually, this is showing a tyrannical. It's actually getting bigger. I mean, Black people have been experiencing this police brutality for a very long time. It's not anything new. Like Malcolm X was talking about it, and many others in the '60s. But it's like when other races feel the tyranny,
Yeah.
they have to say, "Hey, wait a minute. They've been saying that this has been happening to them. Now it's happening to us too. Maybe not as much, but hey, we got to start coming together on this. This is like anti-American. It's anti anything good for anybody,
Well,
Yeah,
I was going to say, I think folks are getting that message, and they are, coming together and speaking out against it, and a lot of people are still, supporting the orange, which, I can't understand it,
yeah.
and if you live in 2020, how on earth can you be here on this planet in 2020 and still have the feelings of your generation's past? It's like, what happened to all the change during that time? You're telling me there's been
Right.
no change? You feel exactly like your great-great-grandfather? It shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, yeah. It's baffling. It's baffling to me. I mean, I think it's a mental illness.
Mm.
Really, it
Yeah.
really is.
America has a mental illness for sure. I also want to talk about, speaking of, cats from the old times, you're an avid bike rider, man, always on that 10 speed, doing your thing, man, hitting it. And there was a documentary quite a while ago where you got a chance to go to some of the old clubs and, tell about the history. Tell me about that a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was the first Blue Note documentary. Like they've actually had another one since. But yeah, I was the guy who was producing that Blue Note documentary. He'd also did a documentary on Chico Hamilton. So that was called something about a beat of a different drum or something like that. But yeah, that was the same guy. So he knew I was into bike, and he just had an idea. He called me out of the blue,
Oh, wow.
and he just said, yeah, he said, hey, I'm thinking like you could maybe show us around Harlem, to all the famous sites. And at that time, it was still a lot of places still up and running, and even their facades were still up. So Minton's was one of those places.
Wow. That's
I think I showed the Renaissance Ballroom, and I think I remember hearing that that was a famous place that like all the big bands used to come to, and I know it was some other places that were famous that was closed at the time. I remember going to a place called the Baby Grand, and that was on 125th Street. Ironically, I don't think we stopped at the Apollo Theater, but the Apollo Theater, is still there and it's still open. But yeah, it was exciting. Got a chance to do some bike riding and stop at each place to give a little history lesson, because I'm kind of like that. And actually, the history part of music was the thing that I always was into. Because I have different books, and I used to, when I was a teenager, just learning the music and studying the music, I was always reading the backs of the album covers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes, man, the tactile, buy the album, take the plastic, open it up, play it, and while you play it, you read the liner notes, and the music and the liner notes kind of sear into your body and into your brain and help you become the jazz professional that you are, and open you up to some things that you didn't know and that you can go out and explore and check out more things, man. We're missing that. I mean, how are you surviving in the digital age, whereas back in the day, you know, it was selling the CDs? You know, what is it today?
I mean, I still like buying CDs. Like, I might not buy as much as I used to, but I still, like, I just bought this Rahsaan Roland Kirk 4 CD set. Yeah. 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 So, I mean, I still, in my car, I have CD player, and actually the dealer that I bought the car from, he wanted the car back. They were always sending me letters, you know, hey, you know, come in, you know, we like your car, you know, it's like a lot of interest in your type of car. Right. And I remember I went in there and they were trying to get me in a new, like, 2020 something. And I first asked him, I said, hey man, you know, what kind of sound system? I said, I'm hearing that none of the new cars have CD players. And once he said, yeah, it's no CD player, I was like,
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm good, you know. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I do Bluetooth my phone to, you know, the stereo in the car, and it does sound good. You know, I'm not going to lie. It has Bluetooth, but there's also, you know, a CD player in there too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're right though. I mean, the thing is that the thing about those liner notes, you know, you're reading, you know, sometimes the you know, quotes from the artist, you know, or, you know, a famous writer like Nat Hentoff or somebody like that, Ira Gitler. And those were guys, you know, they were absorbing history as it was being made. I mean, that's really in essence what it is. Like when Train was playing, Bird was playing, when Miles was playing, when Rahsaan was playing, you know, that was history in the making, you know, right then and there. So I ran into a neighbor yesterday who his wife is related to Wayne Shorter actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I asked him about Rahsaan. I said, hey, you know, did you ever, you know, I think I brought it up, his name, and he said, oh, yeah. I used to hear Rahsaan at Slugs.
Mm.
Yeah, and that was where Lee Morgan got killed. So
yeah.
And then I told him, I said, you know, Slugs actually closed that night when Lee Morgan got killed. That was the last.
That was the night that it closed. I didn't know that was the night that it closed.
Yeah, it was never to open after that. So and he said it was another place in Brooklyn, I believe, called the East. Mm. And so a lot of the great, you know, somebody told me he saw a gig with Train, Dolphy, and Elvin Jones, just those three.
Goodness. Oh, man, I wish I could have been there for that.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, I mean, that's history in the making, man, you know, and that's the beautiful part of the music. It's you play in the now, but you pay, you know, respects in the past, and you keep looking forward, you know.
Yeah, there was a documentary that came out a little while ago. It was called They Called Him Lee. Did you, Lee Morgan, you saw that?
Yes.
And there were some folks, Benny Maupin, our beautiful Benny Maupin that's out here in LA, you know, he was in it talking about Lee, played with Lee. And yeah, man, you got a chance to see a little bit of the perspective of what really happened back then. We got a chance to hear this story, and these stories from these musicians are so important.
Yeah, no, definitely. And actually, I was talking to Houston Person about it, and I said, hey, man, listen, you know, when we're getting on the phone talking, man, we're talking like for an hour. I said, and I'm asking him questions like how you're asking me questions. I'm asking him, like, picking his brain, and I say to him, hey, man, we got to get this on tape. And he's kind of like, nah, you know, nobody wants to hear that stuff. I said, no, I said, they want to hear this. Yeah. And I have also another relative, his name is Henry Mattathias Person, and he played bass with Rahsaan. Mm. And I wanna see if I can get him on tape, because I have questions about you know, things that Rasan did, and you know, even his career. He actually, if I remember correctly, he got an award, like a lifetime achievement award, like for musicians who were like raised in Brooklyn and all that stuff. And so yeah, so those guys, you know, you spend, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years with somebody on the road, you start seeing the ins and outs, how they worked, you know, how they put their like little nuanced things, you know.
Sure.
And sometimes that person might not even remember stuff until like they're asked specifically about it.
Right.
You know, I might say this, hey man, you know, I noticed that Rasan, you know, a lot of his, you know, he stopped the one that sound like soprano. I think it's the Manzello.
Mm-hmm.
I think. You know, he had to stretch the Manzello and he played tenor. But those other two, and the one that sounded like soprano, it seemed like he stopped featuring it. Like as his career went on, like some of his earlier recordings, I could tell like he was making sure it was like out there, front and center, like a lot of solo leads. And then as time went along, that one actually kind of fell back. And so maybe nobody knows. I mean, you know,
maybe somebody does.
Yeah, maybe somebody does, you know, so because that's the way it is. I mean, the life of an artist does go through different phases, you know, and sometimes it's just based on feeling, but it could be certain other things. Like some things are trained. Train said he had problems with his mouthpiece at a certain juncture. And so when they started doing those records, like where he was playing with Duke and in the Ballads record and the one, what's another one?
Hartman?
Huh?
Hartman?
Who?
Johnny Hartman.
Yeah, Johnny Hartman. Yeah, exactly. So those softer records, people were saying, oh, well, they were just trying to commercialize them a little bit. But actually, he might have said, hey, man, listen, I'm kind of going through a thing with my mouthpiece where I'm not really being able to dig into it. Maybe we could do something a little softer for a while, you know. And that's what came out of that situation with the mouthpiece.
Man, that's an important part of history that not too many people know. That's why you got to listen to EP, Eric Persson.
Yeah. And, you know, some of his, you know, the critics, a lot of times they'll say, like, why did Miles do this? And be like, well, why didn't you ask him when he was alive? You know what I mean? You'd be speculating 30 years later, you know? Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, so there's a couple of times, you know, in the history of jazz, one of them being back in the day with Dolphy and Train and Miles and that energy, that new music that was created back there and what it did for, you know, the world. And then there was a resurgence, a time when New York, man, was it. Everybody was going to New York City. When you're young, you get over to New York, you hop up on stage, whether you're playing with Buhina or you're playing with whatever, you get your skills down. There was a nice energy there. And then all of a sudden, New York, you know, it just kind of like, I mean, it's still happening there, but not like those energies when all the young musicians got a chance to go and were all thriving on the scene, probably back in the 80s. And then way back before that, when all of this fantastic music that we still live with today was being created.
I mean, you know, that's the thing. When I came to New York in 1982, it was like, it was hopping. I mean, it was all these guys that, you know, I had their records, you know, they were still alive. You know, whether they were maybe, some of them didn't live in New York anymore, but a lot of them still did. Like, so it might be like, oh, is that Billy Harper there, you know, walking down the street? You know, is that Woody Shaw, you know, over there at that club, you know, just hanging out, you know, John Hicks, you know, and then the other guys who came through regularly, you know, whether it was Jackie McLean, you know, and many others, you know, Who?
Jackie Mack.
Yeah, Jackie Mack. You know, Max Roach. You know, I saw all those guys play at all the different venues, and it was just an exciting time, man. You know, this drummer actually recently, Sylvia Cuenca, she posted this booklet that they had from Sweet Basil, and the lineup was amazing. It was just like every week, bam, 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 bam. And I told a friend, I said, you know, I bet you Russ Musto, who's his writer critic, great guy. I said, I bet you he was at every one of those. Maybe not every night, but he was at every one of those performances, because every time I hung out, Russ was there.
Wow.
You know? And he's just a guy who loves the music, knows the music, and yeah, he's a great wealth of knowledge. But I mean, it's like, as those guys, many of them passed away, you know, some moved away. The scene starts taking a different feeling, and now it's whatever we have is it's a lot of students in New York, and that changed the dynamic, because I remember when I first came, they would just say, hey man, you know, just go and sit against the wall and have a Coke or whatever, don't even worry about it. Then as the more students came, then that got to be like, you know, we can't keep letting all these guys in here, we're not making any money, you know. So it started changing, and now it's a totally different thing. I actually used to tell people, like, hey man, you know, come to New York, you know, develop your music. You have something to say, you know, you'll be challenged. You can take it higher, you know. Now it's kind of like, you know, maybe you could do it in your own town, depending on where it is, you know. But New York per capita has a lot of great musicians, a lot of fantastic musicians, you know. So,
Well, you know, we've developed a lot as well, man. We got
yeah,
New Yorkers, we got cats from Chicago, we got the cats from LA, and you know, it's just turned into a great scene that got shut off by COVID-19, and so and that's a game changer, man, because you know we work to live, you know, and we play that music to make that money, to pay our bills, to create. And all of these things get cut off like that. Really, only the people who've made albums or have things to sell. I mean, if you're just a musician that was hitting every week, it's some trouble going on right now, you know?
Oh, okay. There's two sides of that too. Actually, I know musicians, and I'm talking about talented musicians who work with, you know, some well-known musicians, and they never even came out with a CD of their own. And so all those years when they probably should have like did something to feature their own self, now they missed the boat. Now, because CDs just aren't selling.
Yeah.
So, but that's, I mean, you know, I actually call CDs now like very expensive business cards.
That's what they are.
You know what I mean? So the thing is, musicians who do have product aren't making any money off their product. You know, so I mean, I'm pretty fortunate that I did a lot of gigs. I went on the road with my project, so I actually sold a lot of my CDs. But I still have certain CDs where I'm like, man, I should have pushed that record a little harder. You know, certain ones, and then other ones I sold all out of. You know, but it's a hustle. The music business has always been a hustle, and now it's really a hustle. You know, actually, my strategy now, and maybe somebody else can use this strategy too. I'm not trying to keep no secrets here, but to actually just put out more product. You know, as far as like, it could be just downloads. You know, you acquire it through downloads or streaming or whatever, but it won't be like just, let's say I got 100 songs now. Now I'm gonna be pushing it to like 150, 200 songs, you know. So I think you're going to have to do that to match the numbers maybe that you used to get with the CDs. Because like I have my stuff distributed through CD Baby, and they were great. I used to get a check or two every month, many times. And now it's like if I get 2 checks a year, that's kind of like an average, you know. So Houston actually also suggested that, you know, start, you know, pushing more tunes out there. And he would suggest pushing more tunes like standards and stuff like that, because that's what he did.
Sure.
But I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I think if you try and be a little more ubiquitous and put more tunes out there, that could be helpful. Yeah.
Put some more tunes out there. I think, and I don't know, you know, I can only think from this brain, you know, a jazz brain or whatever. I don't know what your average jazz fan or jazz listener thinks about that. You know, for me, I've kind of reduced the standards to like 10%. And the reason I say this is we've heard them many, many times. If somebody comes out with an album with a bunch of standards on it, that's telling me a lot about you. Like, I'm not going to hear you on here. You're concentrating on doing some other stuff. I want to hear something that came from your body and your brain, and let me hear what you're talking about. That's what I really get excited about.
Yeah.
But if someone's doing a standard, either, man, you're killing it. They got to do it in such a way that is, whoa, I love the way that they approach that. Or you just kind of regurgitating some of the same sounds.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're both the same in that regard. I mean, it's like if I hear somebody now doing a standards record, I'm kind of like, I'm automatically kind of like, I don't know, you're gonna have to convince me,
right?
You know, because my criteria still for, you know, music, I still listen for originality. You know, you know, some kind of a slant on a tune, or you know, some of the music, you know, that's going to make me actually want to listen to it twice.
Sure.
You know, and so if I'm hearing something that like I'm like, okay, well, I'm hearing that lick from that guy's record. I hear you trying to play that like that guy. I'm like, okay, I can give you a check just for, you know, I know that takes some effort. Some guys are actually good at that, you know. I'm not that kind of a player. I never tried to be that kind of copy master or anything. But some guys are actually good at that. I'm not putting that down. It's just that when I think of music, I want to come back to, you know, music that has influenced me year after year, that I could say, hey man, I've actually been listening to that record for 40 years and I'm still hearing different things in it. I don't think that in this day and age, like doing a standards record is going to really do that for me, you know? So
yeah. I would agree with you, but speaking about that excitement about new music that you want to go back to, got anybody on the top of your mind right now that has lit you that way, or who's the latest person that lit you like, ooh, yeah, this cat's on?
I'll have to think about that. I mean, it's like I have to think about, because every once in a while I get a new CD and like I'll be like, that was good. I really did that. I know a couple of years ago I got a CD by Manuel Varela, keyboard player. You know him and stuff.
I'm not hip.
Yeah, he has some good stuff. But I've been actually kind of like in a little bit of a Rasan thing lately, actually, because I mentioned that I bought that 4 CD thing, and I've actually kind of made it a point of like, I bought that Train's Blue World. That was inspiring.
Okay.
But Actually, my thing lately has been like kind of like reinvestigating somebody's work and trying to look at it in a new light. So that's kind of why I bought the Rasan stuff, and I want to go and buy that box set of or the multiple CD set of the Eric Dolphy thing. I think it's called Musical Prophet. And I always, on another note, I always keep a box set of Billie Holiday in my car
Mm.
because I feel like for me, that I'm always trying to make my playing more lyrical, more expressive, and so listen to vocalists always have done that for me, you know. So yeah,
Well, look, man, you're a wealth of knowledge. You know, my dear friend, one of my closest brothers, man. I appreciate you. I love you. The man's name is Eric Person. You just heard him blast all this wisdom and all this knowledge without a peep. The brother didn't have to sit there and think about it. He made it happen, man. That's our cat. We want to thank you for listening to the Just Jazz Cafe with my man and yours, Brother Eric Person. Thank you, man. Appreciate you, bro.
yeah. Thanks, Lee. Hey man, it's always wonderful. Let's do it again, like after the CD comes out.
Oh, no doubt. What's the next CD coming out?
Well, it's the one with Houston Person. It's called Blue Vision. Going to release it next year, and definitely going to be doing some performances behind that. It's actually a dream come true, to record with him. But every time I, perform with him, it's a dream come true. So we got him, and it sounded really great.
Person to person, baby. Appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you too, Lee.
Yes, sir. Well, you just witnessed another session of the Just Jazz Cafe. Thank you for tuning in. Check us out online at justjazzcafe.com. There's interviews from William Parker, from Teodros Avery. Don was president of Blue Note Records. We just did one with Cassandra Wilson. There's a lot of great things for you to check out there. My man, Ruben Rogers. We just have a good time, man. One with Jason Moran and Benny Maupin and Nasheed Waits, Eric Rivas. We're trying to talk to all the cats, man, and get the great vibe.
Yeah.
But thank you for checking out the Just Jazz Cafe, and we'll see you on the next one.